All right, folks, welcome back. We have had a pretty decent hiatus from the podcast here. I don't know, I feel like it's been about 6 years since I did one, but I think it's a few weeks. Whatever it's been, thank you guys for coming back today. I'm very excited. We have our first ever guest on the podcast, Mr. MaungaDee. Hi, Manga.
How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I am well.
Now, Manga is the first guest person on the podcast, but this is actually his second time hanging out with me because I don't know was it a month ago, Manga? 3 weeks ago? I don't even remember how long.
Yeah,
Maybe.
3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, it was a while. That we actually sat down and did this whole interview. We had an epic conversation. We got into Manga's life and heard his stories, and it was awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the greatest podcast I've ever produced, which is not saying much, but still, it was really good. It might have even had enough content for multiple podcasts. And then the next day when I went to open the file to edit it, the literal file that I recorded it on was corrupted and unopenable, and I couldn't fix it. And so that conversation has been lost in my recycling bin. And Manga, after spending a lot of time with me, hanging out, chatting, has actually agreed to come back and try it again. So, Manga, much respect. Not just once, but twice.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Technically,
I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
because of the anger.
Yeah. I was so mad. The first 4 days I was livid, and then I felt bad, and now it's ancient history. Now we're good, right?
Yeah, all good.
I guess technically you're the first two guests, technically, right, on the podcast. Sort of.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we'll take that. All right, dude. Well, I mean, this is good. We've had a practice run, so now we know all the, where to laugh and, all that good stuff. And also, I'm not a very good listener, so most of this is going to be new for me again. So that's good too.
And I have a bad memory. So.
Oh, perfect. Then who know? We never did this before. It'll be fresh for both of us. Okay, dude. Well, yes, as I said, thank you so much for coming back on, and I'm looking forward to kind of hearing your story a little bit. Obviously, people who've been listening to the podcast know that I've been talking about religion and my experience with it, and kind of where I'm at now. That I've kind of gone through this phase where I was really into it and had some pretty serious doubts, and now I'm just kind of in this weird in between spot where I like some of it and I really don't like some of it, and I don't know what to do about that. But anyways, I appreciate that people listening that's kind of sparked other people to be like, hey, I'm not exactly the same, but here's where I am. Here's where I am. It's not really something we talk about a lot. You know what I mean? A lot of you go into a Twitch chat or something, and it's like, do not talk about religion. So it's nice to have a little spot to talk about this stuff, and I'm glad that you've stepped forward and said, hey, man, I got a story to tell too. So, yeah, thank you for doing that.
No problem.
So, I guess we should start at the beginning. I think we did that last time. Let's do that this time. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, that kind of stuff, and part of a religious family, I'm assuming, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So MaungaDee. My real name is Rob.
Mm-hmm. I'm never sure whether to call people, their Twitch name or I know it's always awkward for me. Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't mind though.
You don't mind Rob or Manga either way? Or
either
what?
Way.
Okay, cool.
Good with it. I live in Utah, the promised land. If you're Mormon.
Why did they pick Utah? Do you know? Was there kind of religious freedom there, or cheap land, or what was going on?
Whole story behind that.
Oh, okay.
Mostly pioneers being driven out of the east.
Oh, okay.
So we're trying to find somewhere where they could practice their religion.
They could be
to
Mormon.
The fullest.
I got you. We're gonna keep going west until nobody's mad at us for being Mormon, essentially.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
I respect that.
I've lived in Utah for 6.5 years,
Okay.
something like that. I lived here a bit growing up too, um, but I've like we talked about last time. I've moved a lot of times.
Yeah, you'd said what was the number again?
41.
Oh my gosh.
People do not believe that I'm telling the truth.
That is so many, dude. Like I
But
think I'm at like 7 times I've moved and people are like that's a lot. 41?
I think I'm on 10 since I've been married.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's not entirely my childhood's fault for how many times I've moved, but
You've contributed as well, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Um, let's see. Pretty much lived Utah, Nevada, and California. That's about it. Between the
Okay.
3 states, we've moved a lot.
Are those 3 known states for kind of being Mormon friendly? Those areas?
Um, Definitely Utah. Nevada is pretty highly populated by Mormons. It was like Las Vegas was founded by Mormons, and
Right, you mentioned that, which is insane to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
even yeah, I mean parts of California
Hmm.
have pretty
Mormon roots.
okay decent populations, but nothing crazy
Right.
at all.
Right.
Um, but just like my wife's from California, my mom's from California, so
Right.
a lot of my roots go back to there. So,
Cool. Okay.
um, so I guess for besides that, do you want me to go with like my upbringing in the church, or
Yeah, love to hear about
that
that.
sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was born and raised member. So it's the official name is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day
Of
Saints.
Latter-day Saints, right.
Yeah.
And that literally
Um,
means like later day saints. Like there's saints beyond. Is that what that right? Is that what does that refer to?
More of like these are the latter days, like these are kind of the end
Oh.
days.
So
Um,
the saints are just believers and then latter day means that's what we're in right now. The end times
yep,
ish, latter day kind of thing. Ish.
yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Um, Nicknames Mormon in the last few years, they would say it's derogatory, but
Oh,
it was never
it wasn't
that
before.
growing up. There
I
was
didn't
even
know
like
that.
full on church campaigns like I'm a Mormon campaign where everyone changed their Facebook profile pictures,
And use
and
the
there was
word
a
Mormon.
yeah, and then the
Yeah.
the church put out a movie called Meet the Mormons as well. But yeah, in the last like 3 or 4 years now, it's like
Hmm.
they'll get upset with you.
Really?
I'm like, I don't know. That's what I was
But
my whole life.
the
So
text is the Book of Mormon, right?
it is.
So what does that refer to? That word Mormon in that title?
Um, was a So the whole premise of the Book of Mormon is that there were people living on the American continent that came over from Jerusalem.
Right. Was it South America?
Um, unknown,
Unknown. Somewhere in the
unknown.
in the western in the west. Either North or
Somewhere in
South
the
America
Americas.
somewhere.
Yep.
Somewhere in the Americas. Okay.
And the whole idea behind it was that when Jesus died and was resurrected, he came and also visited the people on the American continent, and it's their record of what he told them and taught them
I see. Oh,
after he was resurrected.
so when did the people from Jerusalem come over then? When he died?
Um, no, it was before.
Okay.
I'm very rusty on my.
Yeah. No, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm
No,
curious.
no.
I remembered. I think I had. I think we talked about this last time. I had spoken to some guys, teenagers, 18-year-olds who Mormons walking around or Church of Latter-day Saints members, sorry, walking around my neighborhood. But I think when I was a kid, I heard a bit about it too, and I thought it was South America. They told me, but I didn't realize there was some ambiguity there. But okay, so that's what it was. There was people from Jerusalem, I guess Jews who had gone to the Americas. That's the story.
Right. And
Okay,
Mormon was one of the
one of them.
prophets from that group of people.
Okay,
Um, his son was Moroni, who was the last prophet before they all died,
okay,
essentially.
gotcha.
And he plays in the lore.
Yeah,
His son
good
plays
word.
a big role in the restoration of, like, in the creation of the Mormon Church,
Okay,
the Latter-day Saint Church.
okay, gotcha. Okay,
So that's where the name Mormon comes from, though.
okay,
They
cool.
were
But
just a bunch of records that he put together and kept.
I see. Okay, okay, interesting. All right, all right. So yeah, you grow up family. How big's your family, by the way?
I have two brothers,
Two
kind
brothers.
of a smaller Mormon family.
Oh, right. Is you have an older
It's
brother
pretty.
and then a
Yeah, I have an older brother that's just about 2 years older than me, and then
yeah,
a younger brother
who's quite a
that's
bit younger, right?
12 years younger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, cool. I remember. All right.
it's pretty common to have large families when you're a member. It's you know
Kind of
multiply
encouraged.
and replenish, and
Yes. Full quiver.
the easiest way to make more Mormons is by having lots of kids. So,
Yeah, that's how you do it.
yep.
Use the rhythm method. Have 16 kids. You're good to go. Yeah.
um, so yeah, we were a kind of standard. My family's, like, my ancestors from my mom's side, like, somewhat, like, well-known pioneers that came across.
Okay.
Um, I can't remember what war it was. I think it was the Mexican American War that they were kind of recruited to come across,
Hmm.
basically to pay for their trip west.
Hmm.
They all enlisted so that they wouldn't have to come up with the funds
Hmm.
or the food or supplies to get across.
Oh, really?
Um, and so that they all enlisted in the army to go fight in I'm pretty sure it was the Mexican American War.
Okay.
They never ended up fighting and ended up
Hmm.
down near San Diego in the end.
Okay.
And then
That's pretty
ended up,
far west.
like, my direct, like, ancestors ended up back in Utah. So,
Okay. Okay.
um, but as far as my family, like we talked about, we were never, like, super strict.
Right.
I know you liked our name for,
Yes.
like, really strict members. There was, like, Molly Mormons and Peter Priesthoods.
Yeah, I like those. Yeah, so your
Yeah,
family was like you were in, but
yeah, yeah.
you kind of had this awareness that some of these families and some of these kids and some of these people were like super intense about this, and we're not quite that. So you could have
Right.
names for them, you know, as we do when
Yeah,
we're young. Yeah, absolutely.
we
Okay,
do.
gotcha.
Um, and yeah, we just I don't know. When you're a member, you generally get baptized when you're 8.
Okay, why eight,
Um,
by the way?
that's uh, it's what the whole, I guess, premise behind why the church had to be restored was to bring back, um, what's the word? Uh, like, different ordinances that you had to do, like
Right,
true baptism with
right,
the real priesthood that
right,
John the Baptist had.
right, 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 right.
And so through that, like, they believe that there was prophets like Joseph Smith,
Hmm.
the guy that the founder of the Mormon Church. Like, um, he considered himself a prophet,
Right.
and so continued revelation. They basically said that 8 years old was when you're when you should be held accountable for your sins.
Wow.
Before that,
You're kind of good.
you're innocent. You're too innocent to know better.
So when
But
you
by
turn
8,
7, you have yourself a year. This is your last.
yeah,
This is your last free year, kids.
yep, get those sins in.
Get those sins. Sow your wild oats, 7-year-olds.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. So like,
kind of funny though. I remember after I got baptized, I was like, "Well, I'm perfect now."
yeah, yeah.
And almost immediately in my head, I said, "Damn." And I was like, "No."
Oh, I blew it already.
Yeah. I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, that didn't take long."
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like the church that I was at, I went to a Pentecostal church for a while at first, and then I ended up at a Baptist church. And I think those words and the denominations and what they're like, I'm not sure how aware you are of Christian denominations in the U.S. and how strict they are and this or that. But anyways, I think Canadian stuff, it's different even than American stuff, so it probably wouldn't translate anyways. But one thing that both churches did was have what they called believers baptism. So that probably sounds similar to probably what you're talking about, where instead of like a Catholic baptism, right, when they baptize a baby, an infant, which I think there's some other Protestant denominations that do as well. The denomination I went to, it was like, no, you wait, and when you're old enough to decide, you decide. And there wasn't necessarily an age attached to that, but in all the time that I was at the church, most of the time people were at least in high school, if not university. And a lot of times it was 30, 40-year-old people, like middle-aged people sometimes getting baptized. And I think like I got baptized there when I was maybe 22, something like that. And at the time there was I think 11 or 12-year-old who was the pastor's kid got baptized at the same time. And at 11 or 12 there were some in the congregation who were like, "Man, that's a little early to be deciding." So it's interesting how, these different churches treat these symbols and ordinances differently. And I remember always thinking like, well, baptizing a baby, they can't decide for themselves. But then like sitting down with a Catholic person and talking to them about why they do that way and what the thought process is behind it, you start to have a little more respect for, people having differences of opinion on that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to interpret stuff,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
So grade 8, are you grade
thought it was
3 then? Something like that?
What?
Grade 3 when you're 8 years old, is that about right? Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I remember like, all right, so if you don't get baptized by the time you're 8, like if you wait till you're 9, then you're considered a convert to the church. If you wait at all a year past.
No. So it's like you stayed outside of it too long, so now it's like you're treated like an outsider coming in? Is that what that means?
Yeah, like you have to meet with the missionaries and get the discussions taught to you. If you're
not, you waited 1 year? Come on. Wow, that's tough. Did you know anyone who did that? Who like was in but then just said nah at 8 and then did it a little while later?
I do.
Yeah.
I know someone that their kids just recently got baptized.
Right.
But they're like 11 and 10. Or 9 and 11, I think, something like that.
So they had to go through some courses or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah. Like we had that when I got baptized, we had baptism class you had to attend where they would tell you about, so you learned what it was, essentially. What you were doing. Yeah. So, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. If you go at 8, then you're good. You don't have to sit through any lessons.
Wow.
Outside of obviously the rest of church. But.
It's interesting that if you go at 9, you've attended one more year of church. Don't you think you'd know it better at 9? Like, why do you need to be taught at 9? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've had one more year than these 8-year-olds. So crazy. Okay. All right.
I think it's just a bureaucracy
It's
thing,
just a
but
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Eight's the number. So yeah. Okay. Hmm.
Um, so what besides that? Generally in the church, like when I was growing up, when you're trying to make sure I don't miss anything
Right.
important, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, I know for me, like you are kind of grown, like you're raised and expected to go on a mission, like where you're one of those missionaries, with the tie and the little name badge, and you ride a bike.
Right.
And when I was that age, you had to be 19 to go.
Okay.
Since I don't know how many years ago they made it eight. They changed it to 18.
Okay.
Um, I believe the change was because they were too many too many people were like going off to college for a year and then leaving the church.
So they wouldn't do the
So it's,
trip.
yeah, so it's
Hmm.
more of a way to get less people to leave.
Yeah.
Because kind of once you go on a like you I'll go into it. I know we did last time, but going on a mission kind of does a really good job of indoctrinating you
Hmm.
and kind of fully committing to
Right.
the church, and kind of breaks you, if that makes sense.
Wow. So it's kind
Um,
of they really want people to do that.
they do,
Yeah.
at least male members, yes.
Right. 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 I
For
think you had said
women,
that.
it's
Yeah.
still completely voluntary. If
Right.
there's no like stigma if you don't go
Right. But for guys,
at all.
it's a problem if you don't. Right.
Yeah, you'll have a hard time dating LDS girls
Right. Right.
if you don't go.
Right. So,
Um,
like growing up, you're obviously aware that at 19 this is happening. Is this something you're like looking forward to? You have an older brother went through it, like, or are you kind of said your fam you're no Peter priesthood or whatever. So was it kind of like ugh, like what was your when you looked forward to it? Was it a good thing, or I don't know about that, or what was it?
so I remember like being like a 10 to 12-year-old. You always kind of knew it was s- there,
Yeah.
something that you were going to have to make a choice about,
Mm-hmm.
but generally it wasn't much of a choice. But kind of the older I got, the older I got as a teenager, the less likely I felt like I was going to go.
Hmm.
Not be, I don't know. I was, I don't know. I was a little bit of a troublemaker, a kind of a jerk. I don't know. That's what they tell me.
Were you?
That's my that's what my wife
That's
tells
what
me.
they
She's like,
tell me.
you're a jerk." I was
You
like, I
are or
wasn't
you
trying
were?
to be. I was.
Okay, good. So,
Uh,
looking back, do you think that like was there? Do you have any idea why you were thought of that way, or why you were acting that way? Were you
I
bored, or I don't
I
know?
don't know. Like I honestly always just thought I was being funny, but I
Right.
did not come across that way
I see.
apparently to
Okay.
most people.
So you weren't miserable. So
No,
you weren't
no.
lashing out. You're just trying to be the funny guy,
I thought so.
and it's a
Yeah.
setting maybe where sarcasm isn't encouraged. I don't know. Yeah.
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 Who knows?
Who knows? Okay.
But yeah, like like you said, I have my older brother that's just shy of 2 years older than me,
Hmm.
and so he went, which I was a little surprised by that too,
Hmm.
just because he's extremely shy. Like
Hmm.
I'm somewhat introverted, but he's like
Hmm.
extremely shy and has really bad social anxiety. So I was like,
Wow, that would be hard.
even even as like he was always a, a better Mormon than I was,
Hmm.
but I was
Gotcha.
still a little surprised that he went.
Yeah.
And him and I weren't very good friends, mostly I think because he was always a much better person than I was. So,
He's like, oh
he
man,
would either get me in trouble or tattle on, just the normal teenage
Rob's doing it
sibling.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were not good friends, I wouldn't say at all
Mm-hmm.
when we were
Mm-hmm.
teenagers.
Was he a Peter
Um,
priesthood? You can be honest.
he Yeah, kind
Maybe.
of.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
Yes, but with social anxiety, so he didn't
Yeah.
want to go to church very often.
Wow. So that's tough.
Um, so yeah, he went out, and then he was gone for about a year. And during that time, I went out to college.
Hmm.
I moved to California from Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Moved in with my grandparents to go, mostly to play football.
Okay.
Um, there was just a school out there. I knew they had they were just a small, they were a small like community college, but they had a really really good football program.
Okay.
Um, like they had won their division like 7 years in a row,
Oh
and
my.
they had a really good coach, and they had you know most of the team was like Division 1 quality players, but they were stupid,
Ah.
so they didn't have the grades to go to a good school.
I didn't know that
So they
mattered for
were
athletes in the States. Wow, they must have been
it
very
still
dumb.
can, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
And
how did you get recruited or something, or you're like, this is a good team, I'm gonna go try out? How did that happen?
I don't honestly remember.
Hmm.
I just remember I went down there with my dad and we went to tryouts.
Okay. So you did try out.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying. This
Mm,
is completely off topic, but
that's fine.
um,
I'm curious.
I'm not a small person. I'm not giant either, but I'm 6'1", and back then I was about 270 pounds.
Dang.
And I showed up first day and I was very small.
You're tiny.
I was one of the smallest linemen on the whole team.
And you
I was
weren't
like, well,
you weren't
this
used to that probably. Yeah.
no, no, I came from all small towns in Utah and Nevada, and I was like,
Oh crap.
okay. We had like two brothers that were 6'9", and one guy that was 7 foot, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, the two we already talked about it. Sorry, but yeah, the two brothers, they ended up playing in the NFL.
Oh.
Um, the the really really tall guy was also really fat. He was over 400 pounds,
Oh
so
my
he wasn't
gosh.
he wasn't great because he was slow.
Yeah,
But
too slow.
if he got a hold of you, you were
You're done.
pretty done.
Yeah. My goodness. So did you think you
And
weren't gonna make it? You're like, oh my gosh, like these guys are all huge. I got no chance. Or what was it like?
kind of, but tryouts were only, I think it was just like 2 days. It was quick, and um, back then I was quite fast for my
Mm,
size,
okay.
so they just put me on defense, and they didn't have a great lineup for defense anyways, so
Mm. So just
I
hit
can't
people.
say I was I can't say I was like a great player or anything like that, but I was adequate, and I was good enough for the team. So
That's amazing, man.
um
Wow. I'm
but yeah, I
impressed.
moved oh, I wouldn't be, but um but it was okay. Um I didn't love it.
Mm,
As soon as we actually got into practicing and
mm,
doing playing games, it was nothing like playing football in high school. It
hmm.
was almost like a job that I
Oh.
didn't get paid for.
Was it because it was just
And
so much practicing, or was it that the actual what was so different?
it was 6 hours a day
Oh
between
no.
film, weights, the actual practice. Like, it was a lot. We
Holy
had
cow.
but not only that, like the team offense and defense hated each other. Like full on fist fights some days during practice. We rode separate buses to games.
Why?
It was so weird. I don't know.
What?
There was just so much like
Was it like rivalry? Like
people
testosterone
didn't
or?
want people didn't want anyone making them look bad. So if you
Oh,
did really well,
if
I'm
you
like,
outshone the other side, you're in trouble.
I'm like, we're just trying to get better here,
Yeah,
right?
we're all on the same team. Come on, man.
Yeah, I just never experienced that like all through high school. So you always had a really cool, like, fun team bond, and it was a good time.
Wow.
Anyway, that was a big side tangent.
No, that's cool. I had a question too, if you don't mind, about college. What
Yeah, no worries.
did you was you hadn't talked about like any real doubts or whatever. Just kind of like you're in the church and it's fine. You're not super into it, but you're into it. Was there any? I know you're staying with your grandparents, but was there any sense of you? Like I remember for me going to university, it felt like here's people I don't know. It's kind of a clean slate. I can be whoever I want to be now. Do you know what I mean? Was there any draw for you to try to maybe kind of act not Mormon for a while and see what that was like, or what when you went to college, or no?
Um, I don't know.
Not
I
really.
I didn't really change how I was, but I
Mm.
never really, I was never in anybody's face about that I was a member or not. So
Right.
I can't imagine anyone on my team knew that I was. So
Right. Yeah.
things like that.
Right. But that wasn't new
My
for you to not talk about it either. So
Yeah,
yeah.
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 But a condition of living at my grandparents' house was that I went to church every
Right.
week.
Right. Right. Right.
But that didn't last very long.
And
Once I
sorry,
start because I
who?
started working for them.
Okay. And sorry, whose parents was it again? Which grandparent? Like
My
those are your
mom's
mom's parents.
parents.
Okay. So you started working for them,
Yeah, so
and
they
that
owned a
meant.
Baskin Robbins,
Oh
and
yes, I remember this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did not want to work for them. My grandma was not a nice lady, and I had applied at a whole bunch of random, like,
Mhm.
server jobs,
Just anything,
and yeah,
please.
anything, and I couldn't, and I was running out of money. I was like,
Uh,
so I went one day. I was like, "Do you guys have any positions available?" They're like,
please
"You
say
want to work
no.
for us?" They were all excited.
Oh
I was
no.
like, Yeah." So, anyways, then I
Yeah.
worked for them.
Oh boy. So
um,
was she like a tough boss or something, or what was the rub?
yeah,
Like strict?
she's the kind of person that will tell you exactly what she's thinking
Ah,
my whole life,
I see.
but especially as your boss.
Right.
Um, so it was just it was you were always happy when they went home for the day and left you with the store.
So she
You're like,
wasn't
all right,
thinking
see you
super
later.
positive things. Is that what you're saying?
I was just Yeah, I was just if you over scooped a scoop of ice
Oh,
cream
you're done.
by a half an ounce, you were going to hear about it.
Oh boy. Okay.
um like my so that's actually where I met my wife,
Right.
is she worked there.
They hired her as well, and you just happened to meet.
Yeah, she had worked there for a couple of years before I did, I believe.
Got you.
And funny story about my grandma,
Hmm.
is occasionally she would make you do like a scoop test, and you'd have to weigh it on a scale.
No.
And so my wife one day was working with them, like, I think it must have been a day shift.
Okay.
And my grandma's like, "Okay, I need you to scoop a 2-ounce scoop."
Okay.
And so my wife's extremely nervous, does the scoop, puts it on the scale, nails it. Perfect. 2-ounce
2.0.
scoop.
Dang.
Yeah. But she's so nervous that I don't know if you've been, like, seen at ice cream shops. They have like this little trough with water in it, like,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like lukewarm water to,
To put
you
the
put
spoons
the
in.
scoops back in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
anyway, so she gets the scoop, picks it back up, and puts the whole thing in the water trough
Oh no.
instead
Oh.
of back into the
Oh
tub.
no.
She thought she was going to die right then.
Nails it and then wastes it. Oh no.
Yep.
From the top to the bottom so quick, right? Oh
Yep.
man. Okay.
But yeah, and like I was saying, once I started working there, they needed someone that could open on Sundays, so that went out the door. Out the window. Out the window.
So
I didn't go to church anymore. that that
so
while
wait,
I was at
what?
college.
How can that takes precedence? That's interesting. I know there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that does happen, but it sounds like
they're business people first, I
yeah, I
guess.
guess so. It sounds like but your mom's side, talked about your mom's kind of lineage and ancestry and stuff. Seemed like the church was very important to them. That's interesting that yeah, interesting that they would just be like, well, so did they still go because now you could
Oh
open
yeah,
on
yeah.
Sunday?
Yep, for sure.
Interesting. Hmm.
No, I thought it was weird because there were definitely like non-member kids that worked for him, but I don't know that they
They
trusted
didn't trust
them
him,
to
maybe.
open the store.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that could be. Huh. Hmm.
um, so I guess more on that story. Like, so I was playing football.
Hmm.
We did. I think I played 4 or 5 games. And then one day at practice, that really big 7-foot guy, 400-pound dude, um, came down on my shoulders, like because he was so much taller. He just like put his hands on both my shoulders and kind of just. I was like perfectly straight up, like
Hmm.
my knees weren't bent very
Oh
well, and
no.
anyway, he just like shoved me into the ground from the top, and
Oh, so was he O
uh,
line and you were defensive? Is that why you were
he
kind of?
was,
Yeah,
yeah,
I got you.
and that my back went out and I was just there on the ground in a heap, and
Oh
that was
no.
the that was the last time I played football.
Wow.
um
Did you think
still
like
have
I'm not
still
getting
have
up?
back
Do
problems,
you really?
but yeah.
What was the injury? Do you know? Like, did you? They X-rayed you? I'm assuming, or don't they take care of their athletes?
They
Don't they?
um
Sort of.
not at a college that size. I got
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
free physical therapy for a few weeks.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
But at that point I was, I wasn't really at college for the book learning.
Mm. You were there for the
I
for the
just
football.
mostly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was not playing again that season. So I was just like, well, I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
So
Did you when the injury happened? Was it like horrible? Were you like I may never walk again, or was it kind of you had a good mind about it quickly?
it
That sounds awful.
like the first day was like it's hard to explain if you haven't like thrown out your back really bad before,
Right.
but
Right.
like it just standing up, like I felt like there was something in between some of my like spine
Hmm.
vertebrae,
Hmm.
like almost like a pencil was
Hmm.
in between, so I couldn't like straighten up all the way.
Hmm.
Um, but over time, it just kind of like because there wasn't actually something in there, it's just thrown out. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I have not actually like gotten it properly looked at. I've gotten one X-ray. They said I had some scoliosis, so
Okay, and is that
that couldn't have
curvature?
helped.
Is that
It is,
yeah,
yeah.
a little bit of curvature? Yeah. Or
But
maybe
I think that's something you're born like. I think that's like
oh, it's genetic.
but I don't think they're related, but
It's not
the
because
one
a guy squashed you, because that would have curved
the
it.
g-
You'd think.
well the scoliosis is probably why it happened when he squished me.
Oh, I see. Instead of doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow.
um so I don't know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I was done. I was like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go back home. And I think at the time I had been thinking about going on a mission a little because all my friends were also going.
Hmm.
Um, but I did. I moved back home, and I still wasn't 100% sure
Hmm.
if I was gonna go or not. And then I got back home, and all of my friends were gone
So
on
when
missions.
you say all of your friends, like when you're growing up and going to the church, like your whole is your whole kind of sphere, your class, everybody's Mormon
Um,
or most people?
most, yeah. I mean, my whole friend group in like my junior and senior year, because I went to 3 high schools,
Oh yeah, the
two in
moving.
U, yeah, two in Utah. Like my freshman year was one high school, and then my sophomore year was a high school, and then junior senior was all in Nevada at the one.
That's hard, man. That's not easy to do. Like
But
new
I had
friend.
lived in that town before
Oh, I see.
for like 2 years as a kid, so I already knew
You were
like a
picking up old
good.
friendships.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Hmm.
kind of weird. Like I showed up at seminary. We, if you remember, every day you go to like as part of school, you have like a release period, and then you can walk across the street and go to the seminary building.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
So,
there. Well, so if you live in Utah or close, like where there's a high population of members,
yeah.
they'll build a seminary like building across the street or very close to high schools.
Okay.
And so, like, when you're signing up for your high school classes, you would get like a release period.
Like, is that
That
like a spare?
Yeah, just like an empty,
a
like
free
where you don't
spot?
have like a free period. Yeah,
Yeah.
but instead you sign. You would go to seminary for
But how,
that
like,
hour.
do the other kids at the high school still have a class then, though?
They could, or
Just go home.
they could do whatever. Yeah, Nevada was kind of nice because you didn't like you only had to get a set amount of credit. It was kind of more like college. Like you just
Oh.
needed these specific credits, and then you were done. Like my senior year, I
Hmm.
only had two required classes, and
I see.
then I did weights just because I liked doing weights, and then I was done for the day at like 11 o'clock every day.
Wow. That's pretty sweet.
Um,
Now, when you say seminary, like for me, in my vernacular and the way I've used that word, seminary is like university, religious university. Like people go there to become a pastor or priest or whatever. So that's what I think of it. But what you're talking about, it's still religious education, but it's geared for high school students. What you're talking about, is that right?
yeah, yeah, it would
Okay.
be an hour every school day
Okay.
of just religious education.
So you go
So
over
it's more of
there.
like a high school
Okay. So yes,
version of
it's
it.
like another school that most of the school goes over to for the one period a day kind of thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
and definitely like when I was in Utah, a much higher population were members. So
Right.
Nevada, I think like 30% of the school probably was,
Okay.
which was still pretty high, but I had just come from Utah, so it was like
Did you
kind of a
ever?
smaller group, and you kind of felt like
Hmm.
a club almost.
Right.
So you had like that's where you would kind of get your like friend group if you didn't know anybody else.
I see. Did you ever feel like the non like in Nevada when you're the more of the minority? Did you ever feel? Did you get made fun of for being Mormon, or feel like some of the non-Mormon kids were like, "What are these guys doing going to their seminary?" Or not really?
Not really,
Hmm.
mostly because it was still a pretty highly populated like Mormon town.
Hmm. Gotcha.
I would say it was still probably maybe not. Maybe there were still more Catholics, but I'm not sure.
Hmm.
It would have been close.
Okay.
So not really.
Not really.
I never experienced that in high school,
Right. Right. Okay.
where a lot of people did. Like my wife,
Oh, really?
she only had I don't even a small handful of kids in her high school that were.
Was she in California?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's a little bit different for her then.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
So you
I
get
mean,
back and
I mostly made my friend group through sports though. Um,
right
they also happened to mostly be members.
as well.
I'd say like 80% of them were.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Um, and so yeah, I got home from California, and uh, every weekend I was just like, well, there's no one around. I don't know what to do. I'm really bored. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, do I just start like working? I don't want to go to college. So
Right.
um, I think that had a lot to do with my decision.
Hmm.
Wasn't a good reason to go,
Kind of
but I
lack of
did.
options. It felt like a bit or something, or you're left behind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And during the time, I guess while I was in California going to college, I'd started writing like emails to my brother who was on his mission a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And so we had we'd actually gotten a lot closer
Hmm.
in that year. I think him moving away and living with these random people that were not good roommates. He was
Hmm.
like, this Rob wasn't that terrible.
Yes.
I think we both kind of saw that we're like, oh,
Yeah, you're not so bad.
he wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we just kind of grew up a bit though.
Right.
But yeah, just between
That's cool.
talking to him and then also my friends being gone, I was just like, I'll go.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
and that was, I was only maybe 6 months after I moved back home,
Wow.
something like that. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I didn't want to like wait too long because then everyone would be back home and having
Yeah.
fun without me
Yeah. You can't
again.
have that. So what's the
Um,
process to go? Like, so you decide to go. Do you talk to someone at the church? What do you do?
yeah, so you meet with your bishop of your so the congregations are called wards in
Okay.
the Mormon church. So
Okay.
you'd go and meet with the bishop of your ward
Is the
and
bishop
tell
like the
them
head person of that ward?
they are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's not like a paid thing at all, and it's not a permanent thing. It's kind of on a rotation. Not a there's no set rotation. It's just it's a
Mm.
it's like a calling that you
Yeah. Didn't you
get
tell me you get voluntold a bit? Yeah.
voluntold to do.
Didn't
Yeah,
you say you
and
were like you got called to do? Was it Sunday school like the lights or something? What the bell?
the bells. Yeah, yeah. There was like a 5 minute bell, and then a bell when the class was supposed to be over.
Right. And they gave you
It's the
that
best.
one. Why did they give you that one?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I loved it.
Okay.
It was the
It
best.
was a good one. You had to ring a big bell. You're good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't have to like teach any classes
Yeah.
or watch people's kids or anything. It was the best.
Just give Rob the bell. It'll be fine. Yeah. Okay. I like
Yeah, he has a watch. He's qualified.
it. Nice.
Um,
Nice. Yes. Okay.
I
So
forgot where I was though.
you contact the bishop
That's right.
because you decided to go because there's nothing else going on. Mind you,
Yeah,
you'd met your wife. What's
I
going?
didn't know that. We were friends.
Oh, you weren't dating right away or any of
We
that
were
stuff.
not.
I got you.
She was into me, and I was
Oh.
not into her at the
Oh.
time.
Oh no.
I
Interesting.
didn't know, and I was very dense. Like I was an idiot. Like we went. I would ask her to go. I'm like, hey, you want to go to the movies?
Yeah.
But in my head, we were just like, buddies.
Yeah. We're just hanging out. Yeah. That's what you do with a friend. Yeah.
Hey,
What's the big
buddy, you
deal?
want to go to the movies?
And she's like, he likes me.
Yeah, and she's like, talking to her, years later, she's like, yeah, I thought you were gonna hold my hand the whole time. I was like, that never once crossed my mind. Not even once in the
Yeah.
whole movie did I
What kind of friend
consider
holds
or
hand?
think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
You don't
weird.
hold hands with your friends. That's weird.
Jerk.
Called me a jerk. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were like, I thought we were really good friends.
Mm.
That's where I left it. I don't know.
Yep.
She got mad at me for moving back though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
She wasn't very happy with me,
Yeah.
but that's because she liked me. I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Either way. So yeah, I talked to the bishop. I don't remember the full process, but I know you had to get like a physical. You had to. There was a whole checklist of things you had to do once you. So you'd fill out all this paperwork. Just I don't even remember what was on it, but there was some like questions on like whether you wanted to learn a language or if you had already knew another language, things like that, to try to help them pick where to send you.
Right.
Like if you already know like Spanish, they may as well send you somewhere where you can.
Right.
I put that I did not know any languages and I didn't really want to.
I'm not interested in learning. Thank you.
And then I did really poorly in my Spanish class in high school. So I fully expected they were going to be like, well, this guy seems like he'll go to Idaho. So nice.
Yeah.
But then yeah,
Where did your
then there
brother
was just a
go, by the way?
checklist. He went to Washington D.C.
Okay. And was that kind of
Um,
like okay? How was that
yeah,
viewed?
yeah,
It's not a bad spot
that
to
was
go.
cool. We had never been over
Yeah.
like I've still never been to the East Coast at all. So
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I've been to Florida.
Wow.
But yeah, so it was, he was.
Yeah.
I don't think he was not happy about it
Okay.
at all.
There's worse spots.
He wasn't there at a great time though.
Hmm.
He was there. If you I don't know if you remember, there was like a sniper in DC back in like
Oh.
2000,
Okay.
maybe 99. It
Yeah.
was like a dad and son that were sniping people from the trunk of their car. I don't
Really?
know if so they were all on lockdown, like, and
Oh,
then he was also there for 9/11. So
holy cow.
they had to like be escorted out of the city on foot. Not escorted. They had to evacuate on
On
foot out
foot.
of DC.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty crazy.
So
Yeah.
I think he liked it though,
Yeah.
but
Other than those things. Yeah.
he wasn't there during the best times.
Yeah. Got you. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, I fully with the way I filled out my paperwork,
Mm.
I assumed I would go somewhere boring,
Yeah.
but I so like you send it all in and then you find out where you're going to go. You don't get a say in it at all.
Okay.
Minus potentially helping your case go somewhere foreign if you want to speak a language. But
I see.
so
But there's no
I get
like you get it back and then you're like, actually no. There's no renegotiation. You get what you get.
there's not.
Yeah. Okay.
no, there's not.
As far as we know. Yeah.
I've heard of it once, but
Make a big donation, maybe.
it was an old couple and they had lots of connections.
I see. They pulled some strings.
But yeah, the normal person has no
Yeah. Okay.
negotiating. Your only negotiating is okay, I'm not going.
Gotcha.
So anyway, it took, I think it was like 2 months, and I got this packet. You get a big old envelope in the mail. I think it's all through email now, but it's a lot. Email wasn't as big back in the early 2000s. So
yeah.
And yeah, it just you get a whole letter. They tell you, Rob, whatever, you've been called to such and such mission, and I got called to like what was it, Australia Melbourne mission. And
Right,
that's where I went.
Australia. I mean, given how you filled out the thing, that's about as good as you could get, right? I mean,
Yeah.
English speaking, sweet climate, and still really like a really cool trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very excited.
Yeah. Wow. So did you call your brother and you're like, guess where I'm going? Enjoy DC, jerk. Not any of that stuff,
I can't
or no?
remember if I called him because we weren't allowed to. Like
oh, he was on his
time,
trip.
You're only allowed to.
Yeah, right.
You're only allowed to call on
right.
Christmas and Mother's Day.
Right. There's very few communication. I forgot that. Yeah. So you could email him, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure I emailed him. Honestly, I can't remember if he called. He would have been down for a phone call, even breaking rules.
Gotcha.
Even though,
what a bad boy.
He would have been fine with that. Wow. So I kind of feel like he may have been on the phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you get a lot more information, like in that packet. Like it tells you like the climate, what to pack, like what vaccines you need, what kind of visa you need, and just all that kind of stuff.
And is that stuff? How do you pay for all that stuff?
You're in charge of it.
You're in charge. Okay. So there's not. They don't give you money to do some of that stuff. It's good luck. You got to get yourself ready.
Yeah, the whole thing is self-paid.
I see.
And it's
so like
we went over
plane ticket. Yeah, tell me again.
Oh, so yeah, the only thing that is covered is your plane ticket.
Got you. Okay.
There and back. It's only covered back if you come back after you've finished your mission, though.
Right. So if you come back early, you got to pony up for the plane ticket back. and you're going to freaking Australia, so
right.
that's an expensive ride.
It was actually like a very wealthy member that pays for all of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some billionaire member of the church that pays for all of the
Oh,
flights. I don't know if that's still the case,
really?
but it was then. So,
Wow, that's crazy.
uh, John Huntsman Sr.
Okay. Do you know what his wealth's from? What industry or?
I think he invented some box or some packaging thing that I feel like it was for McDonald's.
Really?
I think he invented. This could be completely wrong.
Okay.
I've not fact checked this.
Perfect.
But I feel like he made the Big Mac box.
See? That's a better story than if we fact check it and it's like the Chicken McNugget box. Boring.
Yeah.
Big Mac.
Chicken McNugget.
Yeah. No, Big Mac. Garrett, you heard it here first.
It'd be embarrassing if it was the Chicken Nugget box.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Someone's going to look it up, and I'm probably completely wrong.
Wow.
That was just the rumor that was going around.
That's
because we didn't have Google. We didn't have Google back then.
Yeah, you had to make stuff up. Now you can't make stuff up anymore. People will look it up and you're in trouble, right? Back in the day, you could say stuff like that.
I'm going to look it up later because now I'm interested.
You need to know.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, how did this guy pay for my flights?
Wait a second. The Chicken Nugget guy paid for my flight? What is this garbage? Yeah. Okay.
My wife fact checked it
right
now, and it was accurate.
It was Big Mac or all hamburgers?
It was the box, like the clam.
The box.
Yeah.
That they use for probably a bunch of different things. Look at this guy.
Yeah. It was true. Nice.
Amazing. Okay, there you go. GG's.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's the kind of hard-hitting journalism we do around here, you know?
It is. It's important to know. So I, getting ready to go. I, gotta go get physicals. You gotta get. You're supposed to get your wisdom teeth pulled. Just so that doesn't become a problem while you're out.
Right. Yeah. And your back is not an issue for the physical at this point. It's not not really.
I'd been doing physical therapy the whole time for almost a year. Then, not quite a year, and it was okay.
Okay.
It was honest. It's probably about how it is still at that point. And
which is what does it throw out every once in a while?
Pretty much every day it kind of sucks, but I can still manage to get around.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Every day it sucks. Yeah, good.
It's fine if I'm walking or sitting or laying down, but if I have to stand still, it is not good.
Okay.
Like my legs go numb. It's great.
So if you're standing up and stand still, it's bad. But if you're sitting, it's okay for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if I'm walking, it's fine.
Just got to move around.
Yep.
Okay.
So like going on a mission and not standing at people's doorsteps for while we talk to them for an hour was not great.
You're like doing circles around the other guy just to be like, keep it moving.
Yeah, I'm just shuffling all around the patio.
Okay. So the physical, no issue, and you get your shots, right? All that stuff. Okay.
So we're all good. Couple months later, I don't know. It was August of like 2002.
Okay.
I go up to Provo, Utah.
Okay.
My parents drive me up there, and
how far a drive is that?
6 hours. Maybe.
Okay, so that's
nothing big.
Okay, well to me that's a decent hike. Okay, 6-hour drive. Yeah.
And then I check into what they call the MTC, or the Missionary Training Center.
Oh boy.
And it's just a big complex there where I don't know how many missionaries were there. There were thousands though. Various levels of, that's where you would also like get a pretty okay grasp on a language. If you were going to learn a language, you would be there. If you were learning a language, you would be there for 12 weeks.
Dang.
And generally they would leave there with at least enough of their language to not die.
Right.
And they would pretty much memorize like the lessons that they had to like tell people at the door.
The most important stuff.
Yeah.
How to buy
So
food and how to tell them about the Book of Mormon.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And I was not learning the language, so I was there. I was
Right.
only supposed to be there for 3 weeks,
Okay.
and that's mostly just to learn the lessons as best as you can.
And were they
in
like,
3 weeks.
hey, you need to learn, throw some shrimp on the barbie? Like, was there any Australian cultural stuff you had to learn
There
about
was
Arthur Ashe?
not.
No? Okay.
No,
Did you
and
watch
that
Crocodile
was
Dundee?
no.
Okay. Well,
It was mostly it's because we were all all the English speaking people. Like it didn't matter where you were going.
right.
So like a lot of the guys I was with were going to Colorado.
Mm.
Um, but I ended up being there for 5 weeks because
Hmm.
I am and was a procrastinator and didn't get all of the things I needed for my visa in time.
Oh. Like what
Because
kind?
Australia actually has really strict requirements to get a
Oh,
visa.
I
Like
see.
you have to get like tons of vaccines, like
Mm.
every one that you would need to go to like a third world country if you were going to live there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Also, you had to send them like a chest X-ray and things like
Oh.
that. They don't mess around with giving you an extended visa.
Like they're worried about people arriving and then getting really sick? Like that's the issue?
Yeah, bringing sickness,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like a work visa. It was just like a
Yeah.
extended like a travel visa.
Right.
So,
Wow. Okay.
so
So you're
yeah,
there for 5. Yeah. You crammed 3 weeks
yeah, it
into
was
5. Good.
yeah. So my original group all left at 3 weeks, and then I
No.
got stuck with another group
You're the
for 2
leftover
weeks.
guy in the next group? Oh
And
no.
honestly didn't know. Like, I didn't know if my visa was going to get there quick enough. And they were already starting to be like, if it takes much longer, you're just going to get reassigned somewhere.
Oh
I'm like,
no. You're going to go to
no.
Idaho after all.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
thought.
yeah.
I was like, but then it came in
Nice.
just in time.
Was
Like,
anyone from
I
that
think I had
first
like,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just
Well, I
asking
think
if
I had like a week left before they were going to reassign me. They're
Wow.
like, well, you're not going more than 6 weeks here.
You just got it.
Like,
Yeah, that's too much. Was anyone from that first group, the 3-week group, also going to Australia? Like, are you with some of those people at least?
only one. Yeah, the guy that I was. So you're always paired up with a person.
Right.
They're called your companion.
Hmm.
And the first guy that I was a companion with at the MTC, he was sent to the same mission that I went to.
Hmm.
So like him and we ran into each other a bunch of times later,
Hmm.
like at big group meetings and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway,
What was
and then
the
in that second group there was another guy. He wasn't going to my mission, but the one like right next to it. So we
Oh,
flew out to kind of together. We
okay.
didn't sit anywhere near each other though, so it was
Oh.
kind of different.
Why?
Well, I don't know. Like our tickets weren't
Oh, I
anywhere
see.
near each other.
I got
So
you.
I was like, oh,
Just random.
well,
Yeah.
we'll see you when we get there.
Good luck. So when you say
And,
near you, is that like a different city, like not Melbourne? Or is it a different district of Melbourne kind of thing?
Back then it was like Melbourne was split into two. Like my mission was like all the suburbs east of the city and like up north all the way into like New South Wales.
Okay.
It was a pretty big area. It was probably about the size of I don't know what to compare it to.
Okay.
Is it similar to the size of Utah?
Okay.
That doesn't help a lot of people.
Right. But big.
But it is a pretty big area.
Yeah.
And then the other mission covered like the city.
Right.
And then some of the western suburbs and also Tasmania down below.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Now I believe it's all combined into one now.
Okay.
Just, there's a lot fewer missionaries now. So.
I see. Okay. Okay.
So I got there. I talked about it the last time, but it was my first time flying.
Oh,
like,
yeah. And that's quite a freaking flight, dude.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I was super
Were you
nervous,
nervous? Yeah, you gotta be.
very anxious, and
Yeah.
then I don't know if I said it or not, but yeah, I didn't know the rules on the toilet on an airplane
Okay.
because the hole is so small. So I
Yes.
didn't know what could go down the hole.
Right.
So
What's allowed?
I, I held it for the entire like 18-hour
You're like,
flight.
there's no way that hole is gonna work, so I'm gonna
And
just hold it.
yeah,
Oh
and I was
no.
so sick by the time we got over there. Like I couldn't eat. I
I'm
was like,
you're probably toxic.
yeah, it wasn't good. Was not ideal. And
Get this man to a toilet stat.
yeah, I won't continue on that. Anyway, but
Okay,
it was,
fair.
and then I got to Sydney, then we had to fly to Melbourne. It was like 20 between all the layovers and everything. It was
Gosh.
like 28 hours of traveling to
Oh,
get there.
jeez.
And then I get there and it was kind of like it was morning time, so
Wow.
uh I didn't, I still had to do the whole work I still had a whole day ahead of me at
Oh my
that point. I
gosh.
was like, I got picked up by they were called like the mission president and his wife.
Okay.
And they picked me up and they drove me to the bank first so I could like get a bank like
Mm,
a debit ATM card
that's
so
probably
I could
good.
access money. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
took me to the mission office where I got like a bike and like bedding and
Hmm.
random stuff like that. Um, and then they like bought us lunch,
Okay.
and
You
it
and the
was
other guy?
yeah, the
Yeah.
guy that was going to be my trainer companion guy, and it was
Oh, not the other
yeah, it
guy
was
from the
just
plane. This is now
oh no
the
no
guy who's
yeah
this is your new roomie.
yep
Right. And then they pair you said this yeah, they pair a new guy with someone who's been out in the field for a little while, right? So he's kind of the more experienced one and you're the rook.
exactly
Yeah,
yep,
right. Okay.
and it's sort of like a big deal to be a trainer. I guess it means that they trust you,
Mm. Yep.
which so I don't know. He was excited to finally be a trainer, even though he was about to go home. And I, I don't, I think they were like, "Well, fine, we'll give it to
Well,
you because
yeah.
you won't stop asking to be a trainer."
How much longer
Anyways,
did he have? Do you remember
he had
when you showed up?
12 weeks left.
Okay.
So every 6 weeks, you possibly could get transferred to a new companion
I
or an
see.
area.
Okay.
So I stayed with him for 2 transfers, and those were his last two.
I see.
And then at the end, they called it like I killed him off. That's what they called it when you were their last companion. So.
That's a horrible way to put it, but okay. Yeah.
And he was called like they always called like your trainer your dad, and then like their trainer was your grandpa. And so
Oh.
there was like a whole weird lineage thing too. And they're like,
Hmm.
so it was always there was like a whole like weird vocabulary that everyone used there.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh yeah, you killed your dad. It's like, yep, I did.
Someday my son will kill me. Um
One can only hope.
but
Mine didn't actually.
wow, okay. Interesting.
I trained a lot earlier on than mine.
Oh, did you?
Um,
But didn't
yeah,
you say
so
sometimes women go on these trips? Girls?
they do, but they're always companions with other women.
Are they moms and grandmothers? Do you know?
No, no. Well, so the younger ones are not like they're always like unmarried. You can't be like,
No,
but
no,
then
I
you can
mean
go on like what's. Oh,
you
go
call
ahead.
you'd call the older companion dad. Like that's what it's
Oh
called.
yeah,
I just meant
exactly.
do they have that same slang for the female, whether that's your mom, the older companion, and so on. That's what I meant.
I don't know
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
We didn't we didn't we weren't really allowed to hang out with them a lot because they're girls.
Oh, I got you.
It's kind of against the rules, so
Right.
not a
You might start dancing.
you you could as long as it was like they had like all these like number rules, like as long as there was more than like you had to have at least 3 males
I see.
if you were going to hang out with the sister missionaries.
I see. Okay.
You couldn't have just 2 and 2
I see.
hang
No
out.
no double
So
dates.
exactly.
Yeah, smart. Okay.
Because that leads to scandals.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Can and did.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in a religious setting, right? My family's not, and I kind of came to it very late into my teen years. But my perception of it was that like Christian camp or Christian, that was the super pure, boring stuff. And it was, real camp, and that's where, real school, whatever, that's where people got into trouble. But then later in life, I would meet people who worked in like Christian summer camps or whatever, and they were like, "Oh no, way worse stuff was happening there. People sleeping with each other, people doing this, people doing that." And I'd be like, "What?" And so I'm always fascinated by how even in some more strict religious settings, that stuff still finds a way,
That was one thing I thought was really interesting. Like growing up as a Mormon, like you always had a lot of respect for the missionaries, and they were always seen as like
Hmm.
almost kind of like a nun. Like,
Hmm.
they had given up their
Hmm.
2 years, they were giving up all their time and they were fully focused on this one thing. But
Hmm.
then once you're a missionary, you get to know them, you're like,
Hmm.
these are just 19-year-olds getting into trouble.
Hmm.
Doing a lot of the same stuff they used to do, but they just are really good at not doing that in public in front of people.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
So now anytime I see them, I'm always like, what are these guys up to?
Yeah. What are you really doing? I
Not
know.
That's not true for
No,
all of them,
of
but
course not. Yeah.
there
Some.
was definitely the ones that were not following the rules completely. I was one of them, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I also did follow the rules a lot as well.
Right. Right.
Um I guess I could go into like the more, I guess, like your schedule as a missionary, because
Yeah.
it was pretty intense.
What was it like? Yeah. What's a day?
Um so it's 6.5 days a week. um
Holy mama.
12-hour days.
No.
So you have to be up at 6:30.
I'm
And
out. I'm out already. It's over.
yeah,
Yeah.
so 6:30 to 7 you get dressed for the day. Like that's, or you could get up a little earlier if you both like, but generally you would find out who was willing to shower at night and who was going to shower in the morning. So
You're
you didn't.
right. Hmm.
So yeah, 6:30 to 7 was time to get dressed and
Yeah.
ready for the day. Like you had to be in full like shirt and tie,
Oh,
shoes on.
wow.
But then 7
Wait,
you
you're
were
wearing a tie
studying.
in was it warm? Or was that like
Yeah.
fall for them? September, actually. I'm trying to think. What was
Well,
it
August
was
would have
hot?
been
Yeah, it
it
was
would have
hot.
been
That's
winter
winter,
then.
right?
Yeah.
Was it still hot, or what was it like?
No, no. Winter, so where I was down in Melbourne, it's a lot like Seattle weather.
Okay.
It's just really rainy a
Hmm.
lot, especially in the winter. It just rains a lot.
Okay.
I don't know I don't know if that's still the case. They've been in a really bad drought for a long time, but
Hmm.
when I was there
It
both
was
years it
rainy.
rained a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Um
So you're not
but yeah.
dying.
No. Well, summers, yes, but
Summers, yes. Okay.
because it was hot. It
Yeah.
definitely was really hot there in the summer.
And it's like a white dress shirt, tie, and pants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
slacks and
Yeah.
dress shoes. And
Wow.
luckily I wasn't like my brother in Washington DC, because it was such a high, like, I'm not sure what the word is. A lot of people are dressed nice in Washington DC, so he had
Oh,
to wear like a suit jacket everywhere.
just to kind of fit
Ev-
in.
yeah, every day he had to wear a suit jacket.
Oh my.
Where I only wore that on like Sunday to church.
I see. Got you. You were a little more Australia casual.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was perfectly like in the rules. They're like, yeah, just wear it to church. You
Okay.
don't have to wear it otherwise.
Okay.
Like, okay, good, because it is too hot for that.
Did you have
Especially,
multiple shirts and pants and stuff? Like,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
I think I had. Yeah, like I said, that list they give you in the beginning,
It
like it
has how
tells
many
you how
shirts
much
and
you're gonna need.
I see.
Since you can only do laundry, like most missions, you're only gonna do laundry on your half day off. But we had a washer in every one of our apartments. Luckily,
So you could do it whenever.
yeah, our mission president didn't want us having to waste
Half day.
our half day off doing that.
Oh, that's
He was
nice.
a kind God.
Consider a
Yeah.
benevolent. Gotcha.
So that was actually nice, but generally, I think I had like 6 white like button up shirts
Gotcha.
and like five dress pants and things like that. So
Okay.
um yeah, I can't remember. We studied for an hour alone, then we had breakfast, then we
Oh my
studied for an
gosh.
hour like as a companionship, and then we had to leave. We had to be out the door by 9:30 every day. And that was kind
Wow.
of like you still had kind of direction on what you were supposed to do, but it was more flexible, but
The study
definitely
time?
a lot of no, like once you leave for the day,
I
like
see. What
um
would you study? Like what's your hour to yourself? Is there is there like a curriculum you're following or is it like what do you do?
not necessarily, but you definitely were expected to be, reading
Just reading.
like the discussions that you should be teaching or the Book of Mormon or the Bible.
So you have a Bible, you have a Book of Mormon, and then you have like almost like a guide book that helps you um, be trained to navigate discussions with people when that you're going to maybe have those conversations that day. So as long as you're studying one of those things, it's kind of okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I went over, but when I was there, we had like 6 set discussions that you were supposed to memorize like word for
Oh
word.
yes, you told me that. And if is it based
Um,
on like what kind of person they are, or what they say, how they answer certain questions? Then you do this, or what? How do you?
no, you were supposed to go through each one of them
Oh,
with
everyone
each
gets all
person.
6. Oh, I see. Okay. Are they sequential?
Well, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
So start here, move to here,
Start
move to here.
here. If they say yes to this, like
Hmm.
I think it was like the third discussion you're supposed to ask them to be baptized. So
I see. Okay. That's
you
that.
weren't really going to move on to the beyond that if they said no.
You're
So
not messing around. Third discussion.
a lot of guys would ask on the doorstep.
Like day
I'm like,
one,
well, I'm not. Yeah, yeah. Like they just knocked on your door and
they'd
they
be
would
like,
like talk to him for 15 minutes and then be like, "Do
so.
you want to be baptized?"
Did people say yes?
No,
Yeah.
this is Australia.
Yeah. Isn't Australia kind of like especially anti-religion? In my mind, it is. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, like it's
Like it's fairly like
most
relax.
most people would claim to be Catholic,
Right.
even they're like, I don't go,
Right. They're
but
not practicing at all, but they would maybe say they are. Yeah.
yeah, for most people, their religion was sports.
Right.
Like it was as soon as you got to the discussion where it said that you had to go to church on Sunday, they're like, no, I'm out. Like,
Sundays
that's
for
fair.
whatever the sport they're playing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like that's fair. Like I know there's a lot of stereotypes, but like a good majority of Australians I met, they watch their Australian football on
Hmm.
Sunday. They like to drink.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was also a discussion about drinking and smoking, and that was also one where it was almost if they didn't get shut down if they didn't
Mm.
quit the discussions when you told them that you had
Sunday.
to go to church on Sunday,
Yeah.
they were definitely going to quit when you said you couldn't like drink or have coffee.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you said no coffee. I forgot that one.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
even tougher for a lot of people, I would say.
No drugs, no alcohol, no coffee, no smoking, no tea,
What about like
no black, no black tea or
no
green tea. You could
what?
have herbal tea. It doesn't make sense. I
Okay.
can't explain it, but
Hmm.
that was the rule. That
But
was
what is the general gist of it? Like, just to not have things you could be addicted to? Like, is that kind of the thrust of it, do you think? Like, no gods other
um
than God kind of thing? You know, like,
there's
or what? Yeah,
it's a really confusing because
yeah,
most of my childhood it was always like, well, caffeine's the problem with like coffee and tea.
yeah,
But then as like time went on, they're like, well, because a lot of people wouldn't drink like cola, like Coke or Pepsi because of that.
yeah.
Like,
But it wasn't.
and
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, it was never like specifically said that
Said
you couldn't have Coke or Pepsi, but
right.
like my mission president said, absolutely none. Like, I don't want to see it in your apartments. I don't
Okay.
want you to be seen out in public drinking colas. And
Hmm.
um, even though that was never like explicitly against the rule,
Hmm.
and
So depending how you interpret the rule, you might take the caffeine ball and run with it, or you might say no, it doesn't say that, so we're doing the cola thing.
yeah,
Depends.
yeah,
Kind of depends.
but
Yeah.
always like coffee and tea were absolute no.
No.
Like,
Hmm.
um, but it, you know, I don't even remember how many years ago that, but the church like came out specifically and said, no, cola is fine. Like, sodas are fine.
Uh,
But
did you call that Australia guy and be like, "What the heck, dude? I
yeah,
could, I could have had Coke for 2 years, man."
like, see, Glenn, I told you,
Glenn.
fine.
Yeah, Glenn. Okay.
Uh, but yeah, um,
So you're up
but
at 6:30. Somebody showered the night before, so you shower. You got an hour or so of personal study time. You got breakfast. You got an hour of co-time. Then you ride your bikes out into the neighborhoods and you go through the 6 conversations with as many people as possible. Right?
which was zero, yes,
Right.
but and so I never.
That's that.
Oh, I rarely had to ride a bike. I was very lucky.
You got to be in a car a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
My
nice.
first few areas were out in like really, really big areas.
Like spread out.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
there were a lot of small towns spread out. It was
Right.
really very rural and
So the
out in the
biking was
bush, they called
impossible.
it.
You wouldn't gonna get to all the places.
Right.
Right.
So we always had a car in those. And then
Oh,
when I
baby.
moved closer into the city, um, they had changed some rules like in the church where you were supposed to really, really want to go on a mission like your whole life.
Okay.
They called it like raising the bar. And
Okay.
if you hadn't had that desire your whole life, like they probably would tell you, well, you shouldn't go. So there was a lot less, like a lot fewer missionaries going out.
Oh.
Like within about 6 months of me being out there.
So
So I
what
wouldn't
you're
have gone if I.
so what you're telling me is this church has this practice for years. You do it, and after 6 months, they're like, "Yeah, we got to raise the bar." Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Okay, fair. I'll let the
Like, well,
audience draw
everything's
their
just.
own conclusions.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, well, everything's gone to crap.
Yeah.
So
Where did
yeah.
we go wrong? Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, if I had just waited, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have had to have gone.
Yeah. Interesting.
Uh, no,
Okay.
but
So while you're
I mentioned
there,
it last time. I
hmm,
I actually have no regrets about going.
right.
I'm still glad I did, even with
Really?
how kind of culty and weird it can be.
What was good? What
Like,
was good about it?
just the experience. I
Hmm.
grew a lot. You had to learn how to budget and
Hmm.
do things like that. I just and I think I grew a lot as a person. I became
Hmm.
less of a jerk, even though I didn't think I was a jerk.
Hmm.
I became a lot nicer, apparently. Apparently,
And you think that was from just having to like learn to live with this companion who you didn't really know, and like just having to get through the situations that you were in? Like you kind of had to be
probably
nicer,
that,
or? Hmm.
and just yeah, being kind of beat down a little, like
Hmm.
being told no, like constantly every single day, like kind of wears on you. I don't know.
Hmm.
You learn to let things roll off your back
What were you being
pretty
told no
well.
about?
No, I just mean
But
like
the people at the doors?
knocking on doors
Yeah.
or
The
trying to
constant
like
rejection.
talk to people at the train station, things like that. Like,
Dude, do you remember like the first time you like your first day doing that, or any early ones where you're like like, were you nervous? Like, that would just be
Very much.
yeah.
It was terrifying.
Yeah. People just don't do that.
I never became good at it.
Hmm.
And that's how I knew I was never meant to be a salesman.
That was like the main
Especially,
reason you were there, right? Was to have these conversations.
yeah, and you know, it was very similar to being like a salesman. Like
Hmm.
we'd have like quarterly meetings and stuff, and they would go over like they called them door approaches,
Okay.
ways to you know
Yeah.
be less awkward and
Be like,
maybe get
yo.
people to actually listen to you.
Yeah. And
And
did you
yeah,
hear any
more.
amazing strategies or?
They were all just about being more assertive,
Hmm.
but
Don't. Hmm.
also being nice. Like they're like, you should compliment like a pretty flower bush you saw on your walk to their door,
I see.
but also don't take no for an answer. I'm like, well, I'm not doing any of that. So I would get up to the door. I very much remember my first day going to I could probably even look on a map and find that street because it was like
Hmm.
it's still pretty vividly
Hmm.
in my memory. I was
Yeah.
just terrified.
Oh
And
my gosh.
luckily my companion never made me like talk that first day
Right.
at the door.
You could just be the silent, yeah,
Yeah,
fidgety guy
yeah.
because you can't stand
Just
still. Yeah.
just standing over there like, yep. But yeah, once I started, and even at the end of the 2 years, like the best I could come up with was like I would go knock on the door, they'd answer, and I'd be like, "Hi, would you like to hear a message about God?"
Okay. All right.
And they would always say no,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, "Okay, have a good day."
You took no for an answer?
Every time.
That's like rule number
Yeah,
one, I thought.
it is.
And you
It
didn't
is.
compliment the flower bush.
I didn't.
No
Every
wonder.
once in a while, I would compliment something.
All
Actually,
right. Good.
I didn't mind doing that,
Yeah. Just
especially
being
if they had
nice.
like nice gardens.
Yeah. You're like, these are really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Um.
So did you
But yeah, it
have like
was.
a quota? Like did Glenn ever have a meeting and was like, dude, you're supposed to convert 3 people a month. You're way behind, you know? Like was
Yes,
that a problem ever?
we had quotas.
Really?
They were more of suggestions,
Ah.
but that's just because it was so uncommon for anyone to get baptized. But that was your main goal.
Oh,
Like
okay.
your main goal quota number was baptisms. Like that's the main number that mattered for missionaries.
So what were some other things that could happen kind of short of that, but that were still positive? Like someone comes out
Um
to the church or something or
like if you got someone to listen to the entire first
okay.
discussion, that was a pretty big deal.
That was a big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
It got to the point though where the mission president Glenn, I would never call him that to his face, by the way.
Glenn?
Yeah,
What would you
he
call
was
him?
uh it was like president and his last name.
Oh, okay.
I won't
Got you.
I won't dox him,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Got you. President, whatever his last
um
name was, but you wouldn't be Glenn. Okay. Okay.
never.
Okay.
Even still, if I ran into him, I would
You
be
wouldn't.
like,
Yeah. You'd be.
"Hello, President."
You'd be.
So
Would you like a Pepsi? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
like,
Fair.
well,
Mm.
here's my Coke. It's good. Um, yeah. So it was like you reported on like how many people you even like gave like a little card to that they could go to a website or something,
Okay.
anything like that.
You
You
took
could,
very meticulous notes, and that was
yeah,
expected, right? That was how you
yeah.
did it.
Every night when you got home, you'd have a call with your district leader person, and they would take your numbers
What?
for the day.
Every
They
night?
were all, yeah, every day. You'd get in at 9:30, and I think they would generally try to call as close to 9:30 as possible,
Hmm.
mostly to make sure you were home
Right.
because you were in trouble if you weren't.
Right. I got you.
But yeah, every night you reported your numbers.
Okay, so you're doing you did all this prep, right? It's cost all this money to go. Somebody's paying for the guy who made the Big Mac box bought your plane ticket. You're over there and you're getting up early, you're putting in hours of study every day, you're traveling all over the place having these conversations, you're having quota meetings every night. You have all of this crazy kind of infrastructure going into and being focused on what you're doing. And yet the reality is, and not just for you, because maybe you were specifically bad at it, but it seems like for most of the missionaries, people are not getting baptized. Like there's no sales. Doesn't
There are
that
not
so
sales in
does
Australia.
doesn't that just seem like what like a lot of effort being put into somewhere that's just like it's just fruitless?
That is true.
It's
And
fascinating
that
to
is
me.
it. There's a
Like
even then there were way fewer missionaries there than a lot of countries that are
right. Like by
like
night 3, I'd be like, "Hey, 9:30 guy, listen, if I have a convert, I'll call you. Other than that, I'll see you when I see you." Like it just seems like a lot of work. I guess there's the double reason to call to make sure you're in your room. I didn't think of
yeah.
that. Yeah, they're checking in, but still
Yep.
wacky. Okay.
Um I had a thought.
Hmm.
I can't remember. Oh yeah, so there's, a lot of other missions in other parts of the world were much more successful. Like,
Hmm.
I had at the time my best friend went to the Philippines, and
Hmm.
a lot of the guys from my friend group went to like Argentina and Brazil.
Hmm.
There was, they were baptizing like 10 people a week
Right.
there, things like that. So whereas, I went for 2 years and baptized one dude.
Right. You did
um
baptize a dude though.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, look at you.
um I mentioned he's not a member anymore,
I
which
remember
I'm
now.
happy about.
Yeah.
um he rightfully won't reply to when I have tried to
Hmm.
contact him since, because I think he thinks that I'm still, trying to get him back in. So,
Right.
um,
Which is
fair.
a fair assumption on his part, right? Knowing what you know about
Yeah,
the church.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I
and
w-
then, that's what I was thinking. Another reason I really enjoyed, like,
mm,
and still think fondly of going
mm,
is we did get to do service projects and
mm-hmm.
things like that.
Right.
Although it was limited, we were allowed 3.5 hours every week to do
Right.
service.
To kind of volunteer somewhere or
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mentioned we had pretty much every area I went to had like established things you could go and do. Like, my very first area, we went and worked at a thrift store, that was a nonprofit for a suicide hotline. And
Mm,
other areas we like made sandwiches for homeless people, or helped disabled kids ride horses was one
right.
of them that was really fun.
Right.
So I really liked that whole part of it.
Right.
um, I wish we could have done
You would have been fine
more.
if that was a higher fraction of the time doing that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that I remember I brought it up because we had a little booklet that we had. um, so we had a little booklet we carried in our front pocket,
Right.
and it listed, so it had all of our rules,
Oh
and
yeah.
we had to read through the booklet
I
once a
remember
week.
this. Yeah. Okay.
And so, like, in the booklet it was broken down. I think we may have done it ourselves, like
Okay.
with a highlighter, but we went
Yes.
and broke the book down into 7 sections, so every day we knew what little bit of the book we had to read to
Okay.
get through it every week.
I see. Hmm.
And we would do that in our companion study.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, in the booklet it said, like, it listed the order of effective,
Yeah.
like, in order, like, top to bottom, these are the most effective ways to contact people.
Yeah.
And doing service was like number 3 on the list, and
Yeah.
like going door to door knocking was like 9. But they required us to do 18 hours a week of door knocking, I think it was.
Wow. So
um
why were they so invested in number 9? On their own
I
ranking system?
I have no idea. I would always bring it up, and they're like, "We need to knock on doors." I'm like, "Okay."
But it's number 9. Wow. What was number 1? Do you remember?
Um, like
Have kids?
member referrals. Like if a member like brings you their friend that's already interested.
I got you. Right. Okay. Hmm.
Believe that was number one. Um, so yeah, it was always. I always wish we could have done more of that, but
Hmm.
and I'm sure in some of the areas we definitely did. So
Hmm.
depending on whoever my companion was at the time, we broke the rules by doing
A little bit
service.
extra service. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jesus would have been very disappointed in you, sir.
I know. How dare?
Wow. It's fascinating to me. Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was. Um,
So you had this
yeah,
guy for 12 weeks and then it started to rotate, right? You started getting different people.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think after that 12 weeks, I moved also. Like he went home and I moved, and two new guys came
Okay.
into that area,
Gotcha.
which generally wasn't the case. Usually one would get left in an area because they would already like
Kind of know it and
they would know the members
right.
and they could, they already knew like the bishop in the area and
Hmm.
things. But
Did you have a Mormon church there and a bishop and a ward and stuff in Melbourne?
generally, you would always have either a ward, or if it was really small, they would call them a branch.
Okay.
And they had kind of different leadership structures in a branch because they had so few members that they didn't have enough members to cover
Mm. All the
all the roles.
positions. Yeah,
So
right.
they were kind of structured a little differently.
Okay.
Like even missionaries every once in a while could be like in charge of a branch as like a pretend bishop.
Hmm.
They called them a branch president though.
Branch president. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, every area you would go to, you would have a ward or a branch to go to.
Okay. Okay. And that's where you went. That's where you go on Sundays with your jacket.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. And that's I don't I my mission president liked to move us all quite a bit.
Hmm.
He I don't know. I can't say I was in any place more than like uh maybe 3 transfers at the most.
So that's
But yeah, he
3 6-week periods, like 18 weeks. We're talking.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And he I don't know. He just liked
Hmm.
moving, and that was the case for everybody. Like it wasn't like
Right. You got
this,
picked
this
on
guy's
or
a
something.
troublemaker.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
I think he just felt like, after that many weeks in an area, you've
Hmm.
already knocked on most of the
Right.
doors, probably,
So
if
keep
it's
it
a smaller
fresh.
town.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
so I really liked because I got to see quite a bit of. I got to be out in the bush areas. I got to
Hmm.
be in like beach areas. I got to be in close to the city, and I got to be up in like New South Wales a bit too, like which is another state.
Okay.
So it was cool. And that, New South Wales was kind of like the outback. Like it was like super flat red desert.
Hmm.
So I was happy that we moved a lot, and I was
Right.
accustomed to moving a lot anyways. So
Yeah. Sounds like not.
I was
Yeah. It actually slowed down for you on this trip. Sounds like.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is familiar. I'm fine with this. Let's do it.
Yeah, it was and a way to see, yeah, as you said, more of Australia than you would have if you just got the same neighborhood the whole time or whatever. That's cool.
Yeah, like I had, some of my friends I'd talked to after like we all got back from our missions, and they had, they're like, oh, I had two different areas the whole time. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Right.
That kind of sucks, but all right.
So curious, while you're there, you're not, as you said, you're not this Peter priesthood or whatever. You kind of went for these other reasons or whatever. But you're a member of the church. You believe in the tenets of the church, and is there any sense from you that, listen, from what I've read and studied, God wants to save people and God is good. These people's lives would be better if they were more in tune with him, and all the reasons you were taught about why you were doing what you were doing. Did it ever were you disappointed at all that it wasn't working better? Like, were you I know some missionaries, they go out thinking, the Holy Spirit is gonna convert hundreds of people, and when they don't see it happening, they can actually be kinda not just disappointed in themselves, but, like, thinking, "Oh, so God didn't show up and do these miracles that I thought he was going to, and why isn't he?" And you know what I mean? Like, did it tie into a spiritual thing for you at all? Uh, how it was going over there?
It so it I was under no
Hmm.
I knew what I was getting into
Hmm.
going to Australia. Like even in that packet that I got before I
Okay.
left, it gave you the average like baptisms
Hmm.
for a missionary for their whole mission, which I believe it said 1.5
Got you.
was the average, or
I
maybe
see.
it was less. Maybe
So
it's 1.5.
you weren't any under any illusions about how successful this was going to be.
Yeah, I was
Hmm.
not.
Gotcha.
But there was still
Hope.
a push to do as well as you could.
Right.
Um, which I don't know. One of the months I was out there, and it was the same month that the guy that we baptized was baptized. It was the highest. It was the record month for the whole mission
Hmm.
ever since it had been a mission, which was like 90 years at that point. I was like, oh,
Wow.
that's cool. So
That's pretty amazing. Okay.
I think we hit 30.
Wow.
The whole mission did 30 in a month, which
Wow.
was our normal months were like 5. So
Hmm.
I was like, oh, that's cool, and I was glad I got to be a part of that month.
Right,
So
right. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. So I seem to recall last time we talked there was either it was a companion in particular and maybe a day in particular. I remember you describing a house or a series of houses where it, things kind of crumbled a little bit. Do you know what I'm talking about?
with breaking rules, or
No,
yes.
it was like you being like, I might be done
Oh
with
yeah,
this
yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
done with
I
this
forgot
dude.
about that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So I
can you?
guess I could go over all that.
Sure, if you don't mind.
Um, like I said, I went out there, not great reasons.
Right.
Even and my first companion, my trainer dad guy was not great. He was
Mm,
very much ready to go home, and he didn't want to go do stuff either. So
mm,
um my first whole 12 weeks were that, and then I got moved to a new area, and my guy there was on his way out. He only had 6 weeks left,
mm.
and his girlfriend had
It
just
sounds
entered.
like prison sentences when you say it like that.
It kind of felt that way. It was definitely the longest 2 years of my entire life.
Mm,
Like I've never
counting the
I get
days.
like 2 years now go by like
Right.
nothing. Like
Hmm.
I can't believe I've lived in Utah for 6 years.
Right.
I'm
Right.
like feels like half of a year on a
Mm,
mission.
mm. it's
um
like dog years.
and
Gotcha.
yeah, and then my third companion was a troublemaker
Hmm.
from Idaho.
Wow.
And we got along very well. Me and this guy. Anyway,
Finally.
um so Lord of the Rings Two Towers comes out. We're not allowed to watch movies at all.
Oh, really?
We're allowed to watch our mission president was, like I said, he was kind and generous.
Hmm.
He let us watch any Disney rated G movie, and also the movie Rudy, and also Remember the Titans. That's it.
Oh, I mean those are not bad movies for to make
They're not.
exceptions. I like those movies. Yeah. Okay.
Um, but you were not allowed to watch movies like at the theater
Hmm.
at all. Like
Okay.
you could only watch those like Disney movies, like if a member invited you over, or you could go to a church building and watch one if you went into like the library,
Hmm.
because they'd have like a little, like like when you had a substitute teacher, they'd have like a TV on a stand with a VCR.
Wow.
So you could do that if you wanted also. But yeah, so Lord of the Rings, Two Towers comes out. I'm like, my companion's like, So anyways, we went and saw that. And he had been out a while. He knew he had a lot of friends in the mission that he also knew were down for things like that. So it ended up being like 12 of us that
Wow.
went.
Do you wear like other clothes? Like, are you incognito?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Smart.
For sure. We went to like an area that none of us.
Yeah.
Like we left our areas, which was also a big no.
Did you all order large Cokes as well?
I don't know. I don't remember.
All right,
Probably not. So we did that, and then some of the missionaries that were with us were the ones that they ran the office. Like, so the office I went to my first day.
Okay.
They also ran the office, so they were like shutting down an area. Sorry, I will get to that story you asked about.
No worries.
Very long way to get to it.
No. I like it.
So they were shutting down an apartment, like they had closed the area down. And the apartment was like pretty beat up.
Okay.
Not really suitable to live in anymore. So they were cleaning it and moving the furniture out. And so they were part of the group that went and saw the movie. And one of the guys was Australian. He had a credit card. He's like, well, I'll rent a TV DVD player if we want to go watch movies at this empty apartment that no one knows about. So there was this whole group of like 12 of us that kept, we would rent DVDs and. And one of the guys.
Not Disney rated, I'm guessing.
No, but still
nothing bad, but
PG-13.
Sure.
I think I don't
know movies
that
movies that you wanted to see. Yeah, you're not there to. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, nothing that you would get
nothing crazy
in trouble for, like doing at home,
right?
But definitely against the rules.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the guys, actually the guy that rented the TV DVD player, a few weeks go by and it's his last week before he goes home, and you have an exit interview with the mission president, and he pressures you to like tell anything that you like, to not leave anything on your chest, like get it all out there,
confess.
So anyways, he turned us all in.
No, he didn't. You dirty rat.
So we all got called like 10:30 at night by old Glenn. And he screamed at us on the phone. Thought he was going to have a heart attack.
What was he the most mad about? Do you remember? Was there anything in particular?
Just disobeying
the
rules is unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Yeah, you would think we had like, I don't know, done drugs, and
right? Yeah,
stolen things. I don't know.
Right, but it's not. So it's not what you did. It's that it wasn't allowed, and you did it. That was the main part, probably.
It is, and so he said, so we all got emergency transferred away from each other the next day.
Because you're bad influences on each other. Yeah.
Yeah, so he sent all of us to different areas.
I see.
That weren't really near each other.
I don't think you told me that story last time. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so. But that's how I ended up with the guy that I really didn't like.
Gotcha. Okay.